I'm continuing my reading. What I'm doing in the series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I am reading This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around just a little bit as I move along. Right now, I am reading in the Book of Judges. This is chapter 7. We are continuing the story of Gideon. Gideon's army is reduced to 300. They frighten Midianite armies with trumpets and lights. Midianites fight among themselves, flee, and are defeated by Israel. Then Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all the people that were with him, rose up early and pitched beside the well of Herod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them by the hill of Morah in the valley. And the Lord said unto Gideon, The people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, Mine own hand hath saved me. Now therefore go to, proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, Whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And there returned of the people 22,000, and there remained 10,000. So what's going on here is that there were 32,000 people that Gideon gathered together in his armies. So this was of Manasseh, Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali. These are the four most northern tribes. They all gathered together to fight against the Midianites. 32,000 men. God said, nope. Can't send 32,000 in, or Israel will just say that they are the ones that won it, and they won't give me any credit. So we're going to whittle the army down. So just tell everybody if you're afraid, if you have a little trepidation here, go home. It's okay. We thank you for your volunteering, but we need people who are unhesitating. So, and 22,000 people go back. They were willing to fight, and they should be commended for it. But they were a little hesitant. They weren't sure about whether or not they could do their duty, and they were dismissed with full honor. Verse 4, And the Lord said unto Gideon, The people are yet too many. Bring them down unto the water, and I will try them for thee there. And it shall be that of whom I say unto thee, This shall go with thee, the same shall go with thee, and of whomsoever I say unto thee, This shall not go with thee, the same shall not go. So he brought them down. So he brought down the people unto the water. And the Lord said unto Gideon, Every one that lappeth of the water with his tongue, as a dog lappeth, him shalt thou set by himself. Likewise every one that boweth down upon his knees to drink. And the number of them that lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, were 300 men. But all the rest of the people bowed down upon their knees to drink water. And the Lord said unto Gideon, By the 300 men that lapped will I save you, and deliver the Midianites into thine hand, and let all the other people go, every man unto his place. So the people took victuals in their hand, and their trumpets, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man unto his tent, and retained those 300 men, and the host of Midian was beneath him in the valley. Now, there's a couple of things to note here. First of all, when it talks about lapis, he's saying they scoop the water up in their hand and lap with their tongue. That's what they're talking about. Everybody else knelt down on the ground and leaned down and drank that way. Now, I've heard the theory, anyways, and I like it. This is something to keep in mind, that those who dip their hand in and then drink from their hand are remaining watchful, or at least are able to perceive what's going on around them. But those who kneel down and lean down to the water, their eyes are focused in the water. They're not seeing what's going on around them. So we have 300 men who are remaining watchful while they are drinking. And those are the 300 that God chooses. And he says, okay, now we're going to send you against Midian. Once again, though, we should not think worse of the rest of the men. They were still willing to fight. They had volunteered. They were here, and they were not hesitating. They were perfectly willing to fight. They were good, honest men. They should not be derided or ridiculed because they were not chosen. Verse 9. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, Arise, get thee down unto the host, for I have delivered it into thine hand. But if thou fear to go down, go thou with Phurah thy servant down to the host, and thou shalt hear what they say, and afterwards shall thine hands be strengthened to go down unto the host. Then went he down with Phurah his servant unto the outside of the armed men that were in the host. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like grasshoppers for multitude. And their camels were without number, as the sand of the seaside for multitude. And when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow, and said, Behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came unto the tent, and smote it that it fell, and overturned it that the tent lay along. And his fellow answered and said, This is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. For into his hand hath God delivered Midian and all the host. Now this is a fun little piece here. God says, okay, tonight's the night you're going to go and destroy this army. But don't worry, if you're a little scared, if you're a little worried, and you don't think this is going to work out, just step down there and listen to the guys talk. And Gideon and his servant, they go down and they spy on the host of Gideon, on the host of Midian. Gideon and Midian. It's actually Gideon and Midian, but hey. Anyways, Gideon goes down with his servant to just the edge of the camp. He says he can see the whole camp spread out over the valley. This huge army. And he hears these two guys, these two soldiers talking on the edges. And see, God didn't give Gideon this dream. He gave one of the Midianites this dream. And Gideon just hears them talking about it. And he can see these guys are actually kind of worried. They've heard the fame of Gideon has spread to Midian, has spread to the army. And they're saying, wait a minute. The one soldier says, I had a dream. This is just weird. This little barley cake came in and just destroyed the tent. And the other guy says, well, this is Gideon. You've heard of Gideon, the son of Joash. God's raised him up. He's going to come and destroy Midian. And Gideon hears this, okay. God's even telling the Midianites they're doomed. So let's get to it. So, verse 15. And it was so, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation thereof, that he worshipped and returned into the host of Israel and said, Arise, for the Lord hath delivered into your hand the host of Midian. And they divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put a trumpet in every man's hand, with empty pitchers and lamps within the pitchers. And he said unto them, Look on me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outside of the camp, it shall be that, as I do, so shall ye do. When I blow with the trumpet, I and all that are with me, then blow ye the trumpets also on every side of the camp, and say, The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. Remember the dream. The guy's interpretation of the dream. Surely this is the sword of Gideon. Verse 19. So Gideon and the 100 men that were with him came unto the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch. And they had but newly set the watch. And they blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers that were in their hands. And the 3 companies blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers, and held the lamps in their left hands, and the trumpets in their right hands, to blow withal. And they cried, The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And they stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran and cried and fled. And the 300 blew the trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow, even throughout all the host. And the host fled to Beth-shittah in Zererath, and to the border of Abel-meholah, unto Tabbath. And the men of Israel gathered themselves together out of Naphtali and out of Asher, and out of all the Manasseh, and pursued after the Midianites. And Gideon sent messengers throughout all Mount Ephraim, saying, Come down against the Midianites, and take before them the waters unto Bethbara and Jordan. Then all the men of Ephraim gathered themselves together, and took the waters of Bethbara and Jordan. And they took 2 princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeb, and they slew Oreb upon the rock Oreb, and Zeb they slew at the winepress of Zeb, and pursued Midian, and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon on the other side Jordan. Okay, so this gives us a little more information as to where this is happening. But let us see this Oreb and Zeb. We got footnotes directing us to Isaiah, but we haven't started reading Isaiah yet, so we won't bother with that. But this is just a great story. Remember, the Midianites, at least one of them had a dream. We had the interpretation of the dream that the sword of Gideon was going to be raised up by the Lord to destroy the army of Midian. Okay. At the middle watch, meaning at the beginning, about midnight, that's the middle watch of the night, just as the guards have been changed, so we got fresh guards on, these guys are awake, the rest of the camp is asleep, they have their thing, they start blowing they circle the camp, one group here, one group here, one group here, blow their trumpets, smash the pitchers, just make a lot of noise, scream, the sword of the Lord and the sword of Gideon. This brings that dream back to mind. All the Midianites who have heard the story of this dream know what it means. The sword of Gideon is against them. And they all go into a frenzy and they don't know who's who. It's in the middle of the night. You can't see very well. The lights, Israel is holding up the lanterns all around you, so that is kind of messing with your perceptions a bit. And they start killing each other, just in their, just a wild panic, thinking that Israel is in the middle of the camp. They start killing each other, thinking that they're killing the Israelites, wipes out the group. They flee. They then call Asher and Naphtali again back to the battle. But then they also send word to Ephraim. And they tell Ephraim, drive the Midianites out of that area. All the way down to the Jordan. Remember, Ephraim is on the east side of Jordan. Ephraim has no land on the west. So Ephraim does this in their land, and then they take the heads of the 2 princes to Gideon on the other side of Jordan, which tells us that Gideon lived in the western part of Manasseh, in the northwestern part of Israel. So we have a definite location, even though he says it was in the town of Ophrah, but we don't really know where Ophrah was. So this tells us this gives us a general regional location for this. But I like this. They just scare the Midianites into attacking each other, and once they've decimated their own army, then the Israelites move in and push them out of their land. It's a great battle, and I love the fact that God prepared this not by giving Gideon a dream to encourage him, but he gave the Midianites a dream to scare them. He showed the Midianites what God was going to do and scared them. And so they were prepared to be in a panic. I like that. It shows that God works in different ways as the situation demands. He doesn't always use the same methods. He does what is needed for the situation at hand. It's a great story. But I think the next chapter is still with Gideon, so we will see you there.